it's fun because having taught here 22 years now, we have a long list of tenor players that attend here.
Oh, don't make me nervous.
And you're certainly, you know, a welcome addition. So I'm really glad you're here. He's here to answer your questions about anything. I think we kind of said, you know, for sure you're going to do some playing, and we're going to do some talking, but maybe some stories. So, you know, would you please welcome Bob Sheppard? Thank you very much. Thanks, Damon, for the invitation, and thanks my dear old friend Pat Coyle, we call him PC, for having the idea of getting me to Nashville. And I really love being yours today for a couple of gigs. And, so these things, you know, these kind of things, I've done a lot of them, and I really love to do them. And I never know what I'm going to do, because every time I think we're going to do one thing, it's never that way. It's sort of like playing jazz. As soon as you think that you're going to play this lick or play like this, it never turns out that way. So I need your help here, because I hate the whole idea of talking about stuff. And everybody has different kind of issues, or not issues, but kind of place where you're maybe on your instrument, like practice routine stuff, your own sort of feeling about what you're doing and is the right direction, and should I be putting my time into this thing, which has been an incredible blessing in my life. It's really actually saved my life. Music saved my life. I could say that without question, because when I was, I was sort of a loner and shy dude in high school, and man, my dad was a part-time sax player, clarinet player, and I just sort of focused on that, and it just brought me into the world of music that, and you don't know what's going to happen at all. I can remember sitting in a class, some guy I didn't know came in and started talking about themselves and all the stuff they've done. I don't do that. I've done so much stuff that I can't even believe it, and stuff that I would have never imagined I would have done. You've heard me a lot on recordings, movies, TVs, shows, whatever. Right? I've made my living playing music, and that's sort of an interesting thing in itself, because I didn't know what was going to happen. So maybe you have those kind of issues going on, or questions, I should say. Anyway, it's open. Everything's open here. We're just going to play a little bit and think about what you might want to get from me, because I've made my life as a musician. I've made a living as a musician, just playing music, and that entails a lot of stuff, actually. And everybody has a different path they took. Right? There's no one way to be a musician. There's not one way to learn how to be a musician, or be a jazz player. There's no one way. You could go to Juilliard and you could go to the best schools in the world, but ultimately you have to teach yourself how to play music, right? And how you teach yourself is kind of an open book, right? You have to get control of your instrument. You got to tame the beast, whatever you're doing. Be able to play jazz, you have to be able to play your instrument well. Period. You're never going to play jazz unless you can play your instrument well. So they go hand in hand, and how you do that is really what I'm interested in trying to communicate, because I didn't have any teachers. Really. I was a legit clarinet player, and I had classical training in clarinet. And saxophone, wow, saxophone, this was easy compared to clarinet, just to try to get together. But from there, that's most of my friends, my age group, we had gigs to learn on. When I was in college, I was working. Gigs everywhere because they needed us. Right? They needed. You couldn't get it from here. They needed live musicians, so that's the way it happened. So you were able to actually really go to some gig and really step on it, really suck, and then you learn from that, and you knew what you had to work on, right? And then you had all this inspiration coming from radio, coming from records. It was like everywhere. Music was everywhere, right? So, and you just could be in it on whatever level that you were happen to be at, where you would just, oh wow, that's cool. Now, I'm interested in the kind of simulating that environment, and we'll talk about this in a minute. You have to simulate the environment of playing music. You'll never learn to do it in any classroom. You'll learn a lot of good stuff. Might get a lot of great information, but you will not learn how to play. Do not expect that you could go out after 6 years of going to college for jazz and expect to play jazz. It does not work that way. Frankly, no one cares if you have a degree, if you want to play. But this is the environment that you are in, and this is the environment that most musicians that are studying music do not get the most out of, because they're not proactive in playing your horn. That means all the time. You have to play, and you have to get your ass kicked. And you have to challenge your ear and challenge your sensibilities, and you have to have a real reality-based know where you are in comparison to where you have to be. You cannot live in your own head that, oh, I'm good and I'm better than that guy. I don't know all of that. No. I don't know anybody. I don't care if it's Chris Potter or Mike Brecker or anybody ever known, the greatest players in the world that think that way. Right? So the mentality of knowing where you are and where you need to be is the driving force of you getting better to that place. And being very objective about where you are, what you need to learn, and comparing yourself, apples to apples comparison of what inspires you, whatever instrument you're on. And that will keep you in focus, and we can talk about some of that, just throwing this stuff out there. So we only have, what, an hour and a half? Yeah. So we want to get to whatever you want to get to. All right, so this is always fun, because we're just going to blow. The Strangers. people have fun when you pick up your horn. Yeah, really important. Like I still can't wait to get to my horn. I guess that's why I keep continue doing it. It still compels me. Man, it's just like just make sounds, make relate to your instrument. Try to just get something together on it. Music is an incredible puzzle, musical puzzle, you know, and it still inspires me to do it. So inspiration. Cannot play music without inspiration. And I go around and do these kind of things, and I ask the saxophone player, you know, who do you like? I like Sonny Rollins. Oh yeah. Oh what? And then they have like, you know, 2 MP3s on their computer, you know, Sonny Rollins. It's like, well, so the inspiration has to be deep, and it has to be. You have to input the computer, the computer here with all of the music, right? That means inspiration. You gotta like, man, that's so cool. And you're listening, you're checking it out. You're getting inside of it, spending time with Sonny Rollins for the next 4 months, 2 weeks, year, whatever. And I'm gonna do that, right? You're just sort of pursuing something that you love. You're not waiting for me or anybody else to say, hey, you've got to check this out and you've got to play these 2 5s in every key. No. First thing is you need inspiration. You have to go after the inspiration and figure it out by ear. Because the ear has to lead the brain. It cannot go the other way. Right? So you have to train your ear at all times. So, and how you do that? All over the place. Right? It's happening all the time. Even if you hear a car horn out there, you know, it's like, but notice that. Okay? You can relate to your instrument. So, anyway, I don't want to. We do have some people with their horns out, their cases. That's good. We could try a few things. Right away, and throw somebody who had a question. Yes, sir.
Might have, I can't remember if you, I feel like you talking before you started playing got me thinking about goals and pursuing goals in your career. Can you talk about different goals that you've had throughout your
Yeah, I wasn't a real, I had certain bands that I had in mind, that if I just thought to myself, man, if I was good enough, maybe someday I would be able to play in it. That no orchestra, Art Blakey, Woody's band. Finally got called to play. Pat played with Woody's band, but finally got called to play with Woody's band, and I couldn't do it. And I was teaching in New Orleans, and there's certain bands that I wanted to play in, but I wasn't a real goal-oriented person, except the main goal was not to suck. That's the main goal, right? And that's really kind of like this weird self-analysis, or being so aware of what you can and cannot do, and then hearing what you hear someone else doing. Doesn't matter what it is, and wanting, okay. So the practicing is driven in different ways, and I would want to be a fly on the wall. My dream project, if I ever fulfill an actual project all the way through, is to say take 10 my favorite sax players and sort of do a thing like how do they practice, right? So it really is fascinating. People don't talk about how they practice and what they practice very often, by the way. It's kind of hidden. You talk about it, you hear guys talk about doing this and this at clinics, but the real process of what people do is all over the place. And there's certain things that are, there's a thread that goes, that holds true, but how people approach their instrument, what they practice is really all over the place, and it's really fascinating because you think, well, you first, Johnny, you play 30 minutes of long tones, and then you do your major scales in every key, and then, you hear this kind of pat stuff. That's what I did when teachers I had, it's like there was this kind of pedagogy that was just set because of classical music, by the way, and there's very important stuff, by the way, that relates to all of that, but obviously you need to play scales and arpeggios and every key from every chord to be able to build chords, all that stuff. It's really important to control your horn, right? Be able to go, I knew that D was going to come out, but not, right? That's some fundamental getting your sound out of the horn, and that's, for a Masterclass, I have a whole spiel on that, and sax guys, we could talk for a few minutes about there's a lot of variables in playing the saxophone that are I love to talk about. But getting back to what to practice, it doesn't matter really so much what you practice, it's how you practice it. What you decide to practice and how you practice it. So just if you're trying to get your sound together, right, on your instrument, sound is everything, by the way. If you don't sound good, no one wants to hear it. You can play all the baddest stuff, technique like crazy, but if it doesn't have a beautiful sound, nobody really, right? So sound, it's oral, right? It's got to have beauty, sound, beauty. So what does that mean to you? That's personal, but that's what, again, inspiration. You get inspired by somebody's sound, right? How they're producing the sound on their instrument, piano included, drums included. It's like how you approach the instrument. It's like, oh, I like the way that guy does that. Like, how's he doing it, right? How do you get to the point of doing that, right? Is what we're talking about. How do you get to the point of getting to the place with something that inspires you? So how do you practice sound, right? So, I'm going to practice my long tones. Right? So you can play a long tone with a terrible embouchure, right? And no, it won't help you at all. Actually, it hurts you to play long tones incorrectly, right? So you've got to practice things in the right way to help you, or else you actually might be hurting yourself. Right? So there goes a good teacher could really be incredibly invaluable. That a good teacher can really guide you, so you don't get into bad habits. Because we all have bad habits. Everybody does, and you have to be aware of what your bad habits are. And those bad habits are very hard to break, right? But if you can't break a bad habit unless you know you have that bad habit, right? Just like life. It's the same. You know, music, playing an instrument is really the same as, it's an analogy to everything else we do in life. How you pursue your instrument, how you pursue music, if you look at everything else you do, it's sort of the same stuff. You know, how you handle yourself, how you give attention to certain things in your life. So, you brush your teeth. This is stupid. I always come up with this stuff, but hey, I brush my teeth every day. Click, 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 click. Put the toothbrush down, right? Don't use toothpaste, maybe. It's not as good as going, right? How you do something is a big deal, right? Or else it's not going to help you. If you play the saxophone and you're holding it like this, right? And you're like that, classical guys go like that, and well, that causes tension, right? Harder over time, that's going to cause some problems. So there's all kinds of stuff like that musicians need to be aware of, because we're trying to get better. We're all trying to get better, right? So you have to be aware of what you're doing, that you don't. If you just are going like, oh yeah, I sound pretty good. I can, Not to say you have to say you suck all day long. That's not good either. But you have to be aware of where you're at, what you're going for, right? And so we could get into talking about developing a practice routine, and that's really fun, because we waste a lot of time. I've wasted so much time practicing, and and I still do, because that's my bad habit. Like, I'm a procrastinator. I'm not great at using my time well. But the practice thing, I really had to, at one point, and probably when I was at Glassboro, I heard myself back on a recording, and I had chops, and I always had a pretty good sound, because I don't know, I just liked to compare sounds and who I liked. Cannibal, how did Train get his sound? How did Joe Henderson get his sound? I was always pursuing sound, and but the idea of like listening to yourself back is hugely important. How many people take themselves and listen to themselves back? Okay. How many people like what they hear? I love it.
Depends on the day.
Yeah, well, but it doesn't, the tape, now the iPhone or whatever, doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. Right? And you can listen to yourself back and learn a lot about what you need to work on. Right? So, this is, again, this is self-taught stuff. Right? What do I sound like? What am I trying to do? How do I sound? So I remember hearing myself back, and I was rushing my ass off. I was just horrified. I was rushing. I was not playing any time. And no one was going to teach me how to do that. I just had to figure out how to practice slowly and with the intention of putting my fingers and my tongue and my hair in the right spot and relearn something that was one of the most important things I taught myself. Not to say that that just happens. I always have to work on time. One thing everyone works on, no matter what, is their time. Right? If you could play in the groove with a good pocket, people will like it. The musicians will like it, more important. So what does that mean? So if you had, oh, you got to play your scales, Johnny. Okay, you start out with that, when you're starting the horn, right? But that's, for a jazz player, that's useless. Right? You got to be able to play, not just from. Okay, so that's playing all the bows in one direction. Right? So that has to be done with the tongue and the fingers in time. So you have to figure out how to get the do tongue involved. Now we're talking about the piano or the bass, the same stuff. Of course, it's different mechanics how to do that. From getting from one note to the next. Right? Getting da 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 da. There's getting that right is incredible, right? That's why certain drummers we like more than other drummers, or certain drummers are. Everyone's talking about drummers all the time because that's the basis of the time in the pocket, right? We have a good pocket to play with, right? But we all have to have our own pocket. So if someone who walks into a room, they can feel the time, they can feel the groove. So how do you practice time? Anybody have a good idea? I'm always learning from people.
Just keep a metronome going at all times, like no matter what you're practicing. Just even if you're doing like long tones.
Come on up here. We're going to play another tune because it was so much fun. We want to play after this. this up a little bit. Questions about stuff? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm a piano player, and I know obviously playing with Pat, and I know you played with Chick as well. I was wondering, like, with people like that, you know, like.
Don't compare us.
I'm just saying.
Much better Hank.
Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah. With like really good people that are good at supporting you, like what's like some common patterns that they
Supporting?
have with supporting what you're doing?
Yeah, accompanying people, that's your job as a piano player most of the time, right? So, do you listen to piano players with that intent? Like what do they do when they're backing? I think that's really important for chordal instruments to sort of get an idea of what your job function is. So, mainly it's listening and trying to support means what? What does support mean? It's like, harmonically, obviously, you got to know the harmony, but you don't want to be playing that harmony all the time, right? You want to sort of just apply it sometimes. So how do you do that? Like your touch, when you play a chord, how does it feel in the time, right? So being a great accompanist is very specialized, right? It really is. There's some people, oh man, that guy's a great accompanist. And it's a great question, because now Pat would have some ideas about that, because he's accompanied a lot of the greatest singers. Right? It's amazing. You've been on stage and back a lot of people, right? And they all have different requirements, and the style of the music and all that stuff. So how did you become aware of, like, how did you think
Well,
about
in the case of like Carmen McRae, everybody's different. In the case of Carmen McRae, I heard her play for herself when she sings and she can play the piano. So I got the idea of how she makes things basically from that. And every piano player that's ever worked with her that I know and talked to says the same thing. So that's one thing.
Yeah, so knowing what the artist you're working with, or the person that you're accompanying, it doesn't have to be something famous, like, because you want to fulfill the job, right? And that's not about you. The thing is, like, most of the time when you're playing music, it's not about you. It's about being a function on a team, whether it be a duo or a big band, right? You're part of a team, and how to function within that is something that I certainly had to learn over time, right? Like, I remember older guys going, say, man, just stop, soccer, play this, just like, people weren't so afraid to tell people what they needed to know, actually, when I was your age. But the idea of accompaniment, of learning that, is a lot about listening to all of it. It's like, what, and how is, boy, I see, like, now how do you, so if we were playing, let's play a F blues, right? Like here, F blues, right? And you're trying to work on sort of the idea of swinging, like putting the chords on a certain beat, end of the beat. One, one, two, three, so just do that, right? And imagine you're practicing. We're not doing this to perform. You imagine you're practicing, like, just taking a blues and making it feel good with a certain kind of syncopation, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. to sort of like concentrate on getting placement. Once you get your voicings, okay, how are you going to play those voicings? How are you going to make it feel? You know, if you can't feel, man, you're around Nashville. Man, you're around some pocket grooving music here. You're lucky to be around a town where there's such deep well. Go out. You got to go out and hear people play, you know, and see how they do it, and then try to copy. Go home and try to copy it. Right? Not one way to do it other than that. You can't learn that in school. Most of the most important stuff that you need to learn in music cannot be taught. It has to be. You have to teach yourself. Right? That's true. And great question. Anybody else?
Do you consider using lead sheets cheating, like in a lot of tournaments?
No, that's kind of that's old school thinking. Like certainly when I grew up, we were inculcated with this sort of, you got to know tunes, right? Because if you knew tunes, first of all, you could work. You could work. If you knew tunes, you'll get higher, right? If you're a good player, but you need to know tunes because we didn't have, Real Book Pro, right? And to carry around like big, thick fake books. So, oh, I don't know that tune. You need to know tunes, right? And not everybody knows every tune. The amount of tunes I've forgotten over my life with more than tunes I know. You've got to play them all the time, right? So it's okay. It's okay. But the idea is to be able to familiarize yourself with tunes and the styles they came from, right? And be able to learn it. How do you learn a tune is more important, I think. The question is more important than memorizing tunes, right? How do you learn a tune? So you could use that information to take it to other tunes, right? That means like, if you, say you're learning, what is this thing called love? Right? So that's a tune that has a lot of minor 2/5s in it. 2/5s, but the idea of the diminished scale, right? So that tune, once you learn it, one tune so well, you can really negotiate those changes, then you're going to be able to take it to a myriad of other tunes that have the same changes in them, just maybe organized a little differently. So I think it's more important to figure out how to learn tunes, and so they stick with you. And by learning tunes, like learning the language that fits on the chord qualities, right? So if you play the there's a sound to the chord. You want to be able to get the right scale, play the right arpeggio on this, and learn how to resolve. So learning jazz is really deep, man, because it requires it's in the moment of like needing a piece of information. You're playing in your combos and you're going along. It's like oh God, I suck on this. I don't know what to do on this. Right? That's important, by the way, to realize like, oh man, every time I get to this spot, I don't know what I'm doing. Right? And then go to your practice room, get on the piano, hear the chord, get on your instrument, and just sort of like figure out how to play the arpeggio, how to play the scale, and then go back, play the tune, and fit that in. Right? That's important work. Right? That's individual work that you discover by knowing that you failed on it. Right? That's what I was trying to say. Like by failing, you go, oh God, I need to work on that. How do I work on that? What's the sound? Right? Construct that chord on the piano. Piano is your friend, no matter what instrument you play. You gotta get to the keyboard and figure out harmony. Jazz is all about harmony, big time, right? Anybody who does what I'm saying is not, yeah, good. Yeah. Tell me about your practicing when you're practicing a tune?
Oh, yeah.
When you're learning a tune?
Well, like in my formative, like earlier years, I would arpeggiate the changes, 1, 3, 5, 7, and then reverse, and then I'd make like guide tone lines from one chord to the next, like play the the flat 9 to the 5, sharp 5 to the 9, that sort of stuff.
Did you play along with backing tracks?
Yeah.
Paper Soul Records and stuff? Yeah. A lot of times those were really helpful to me, especially when I was trying to get something new and think how it, as a single line player, like how does it sound on a chord? You can't get guys together all day long to play because you need a little bit of support, harmony, so that they're very useful when you get new piece of information. Right? I was hanging out with Bob Mincer, I don't know, probably a year ago, and we're playing a tune together, and he played this lick. I don't like to call them licks really; they're just sort of groupings. Just so I can remember. Yeah, I think that's it. And we're playing, and afterward, Bob, what was that? Man, you played a really cool shape. I don't know, was it this? So yeah, because that sounded, that's how it works, right? I heard something that inspired me, brought me in. Oh, I like that. What is that? Right? So here's a guy right in front of me playing it. So what is that? But it took me some time to figure out how. First of all, I had to figure out what it was, right? So it's a major 7th sound. So I thought, how am I going to remember that? So I had to figure out something in my head. Okay, so it's an A major 9, starting on the 9th, going up to the 5th, and ending on the 7th. So I can remember that. That helped me remember it. And then it goes down to minor thirds. So it's a diminished pattern, but it has major sound. So it was like, okay, then I understood it. And then getting it together on the horn took some time. Every time I picked up the horn at some point, I was trying to remember it, trying to play it and get it under my fingers. And then right away, even if I didn't have it really together, I would stick it on a tune. Stick it on a blues, stick it on a tune that you know, that you don't have to think about so much. And you're just trying to insert that new piece of information into the tune, right? It's just like language. Exactly the same as learning a foreign language. Exactly. Nothing different. Right? Because you learn phrases. Bonjour, Jean, comment vas-tu? Très bien, merci. Right? So you can't speak the language, but you can say this one thing. And then you have to try it out. Right? The first time you try out a phrase in a foreign language to somebody that speaks the language, it's frightening, right? But bonjour, Jean, bonjour, Bill. It's like, it's hard, right? Because you're obviously not good. You can't speak the language, but you're trying it out. And oh, hey, it worked. They understood. I said hello, right? And then you get confidence that you could say that phrase. And you can't say just bonjour, Jean, comment vas-tu, très bien, merci, et toi.
You sure you're not from Tennessee?
I want to be. But it's how you say the words that makes it sound. So in jazz, so if you're playing, right? So that might be the notes. That might be a place to start to get the notes. But you would never play that lick that way, ever. If you did, they would, send you to jazz jail. You got to be able to do stuff with the new piece of information. That's on you, right? The creativity and the jazz language has to be expressive in what, in some way, right? Has to swing. Everything basically has to swing. I don't care if it's country music or jazz or death metal. It has to have something. It has to feel right. So then, you know, so I just trying to use it in a context that it works. Like, oh, I can use that in minor, I can use it in major, right? I'm just trying to go inside of my own process of learning something new. Right? So it's really learning tunes is a very important. Although there's probably not the same need to know standards now as you used to know. You really need to know standards because that was the popular music of the time, right? It's going down a little bit when I was your age, but it was still popular music at the time. Now, popular music is I don't know what it is, it's beats, right? But still, the harmony of standard tunes will teach you how to negotiate any tune, right? So it's still the main focus of learning how to negotiate harmony, to go down whatever path you need to go, because these tunes are rich, right? They're rich and they're beautiful and the harmonies are amazing and the lyrics are amazing and it all works together. Somebody, yeah.
In regards to your sound, I wanted to know, like there's a lot of like resonance and color and layers, and I wanted to know where in the timeline of your amateur practice, like what components of you see like your lips, like how soft, in order to get like the resonance.
Okay, you're a saxophone player.
Okay.
You have to get your horn out. So the saxophone, any instrument has, and the saxophone, that's what makes the sound. The reed, period. First is having a good idea of what the good sound is. That's extremely important. Maybe that's number one. But saxophone, you get a saxophone and you get a mouthpiece and you get a reed, right? And you go. Right? It can make a sound on a saxophone. Anybody can. Right? But how to make a good sound is really something that I love to try to figure out the easiest way possible to do it. Now we're not going to do a saxophone right now because we don't have the time. But play something, play a tune that you know.
Okay.
Whatever. Like if you were to go to a jam session right now.
Okay. I'm not shining out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Let's play it. Let's play it. Put some, as we say in jazz and Yiddish, put some schmaltz on it. You know what schmaltz is? What is it?
That's right.
Chicken fat.
That makes
One,
sense.
two. 1, 2, 3, 4. So very nice. So like that. So whistle. Feel these muscles here. feel this down here? All right. So that's a saxophone embouchure. PC, can you play a G above the step? Straight in. Okay, so the reed is like, you're going. What am I doing? Too much pressure. Get that reed to go. Ah! Okay, so interestingly enough, if I played your mouthpiece, I might be having the same issues, actually. Okay, so from there, that's the tightest pressure you need. That's when you're playing. You don't need any more than that. So but you need to go all the way. At least a seventh below. And that's the feeling here. Right, so there's an elasticity here of what you need for support. Right, so. So getting the reed to vibrate is the main thing on the saxophone. Okay, so you gotta go into your room, practice room, and try to figure out like what you're doing here. Now you look pretty good. Now play again. Play. Yeah. Yeah. Back. Right. Went back. Okay. So now you're in tune to what you need to go for. Right? You got to figure out like how do I get to get the reed to vibrate to get more sound, right? At all volume levels. Right? So we'll talk a little later. There's all kinds of stuff. Not moving at all. Right? You can't move your embouchure around. There's an internal air thing that I'll show you. Did you raise your hand? Oh, sorry. Did somebody raise their hand? Nope. So what can we play? Huh? How deep is the ocean? Okay. Play How Deep is the Ocean. Who wrote that tune? One, two, 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know that?
Yes, yeah.
No, it's another D minor. No, not C minor. Let's play. I don't want to do another tune in C minor. Let's play. Do you know There Is No Greater Love? Okay.
B flat.
B flat. That was great. So you came up, just how to do that all the time, right? Guy down in the hall playing trombone, guy down the hall playing the guitar. Grab, let's play a tune, let's play a tune, all day long. Whenever you have a minute, play a tune. Now, let's play a tune. I don't know it. Let's play it. Open up the real. You have to play. Right? You could do it. This is what you need to do. You not learn to play music like any other way. I don't care what kind of music. So, USC, I've been teaching for a long time, part-time. And so what do you got? You playing enough? No, I got so much schoolwork to do now. You guys get to play? No, when we have our combo class. I said, what? You're supposed to be a jazz major and you're playing like 3 times a week? Right? It's not going to happen. Right? You got to play. You got to challenge yourself, play tunes. Right? Doesn't have, and play along with music. I mean, on 2 clicks of the mouse, you got anything. Right? Play your scales along with James Brown. Right? Play everything that you have to play, rudiments along with music. Right? You could go on Spotify, funky groove. Right? It'll pull up like 100 tracks of funky groove. A lot of them will be just like terrible, but one of them will help. Boom. Play funky groove. 3, 2, 1, 2. play. The old two vibes, right? Right? You're playing it along with the static harmony. It's not moving fast. They go, God, I can never do this. I can't do this. It's too hard. It is too hard. Because you're trying to learn something and put it on one chord. Put it on two chords. Find music to practice your stuff along with, because not only is it a groove, it's time, it's your metronome. The music is a metronome, and it's tonality that your ear has to learn how to relate to. Right? So practicing is kind of like up to you. You can find, it's never ending, and it's inspiring to, hey, I could do it any way you want. Just listen to what needs to be cleaned up, and figure out, if you're playing, your bass. You have, I always check people's. If you're playing bass and you're going like this, right, and you're checking out a guy like this who's like, oh, I'm going to try that. I'm not, look at people that play great and learn from them. Right? YouTube videos, amazing, man. You can see up close stuff of how people form an embouchure, how people hold their pick, right? Be open to be curious. Curiosity. Just, self-awareness, reflection, all that stuff it's ongoing all the time, including right now, because now I go, oh man, wish I could go practice a little bit, because I've been able to do it a few days. So please, how are we doing here?
About time.
About time? Any last?
So transcription's obviously great for stealing like language and whatnot, but what are some ways? I mean, transcription's great for this too, but to emulate someone's approach, you were talking about that earlier, like taking someone's feel and approach and trying to sound like that, not necessarily playing exactly what they play.
Right. Well, so transcription is the topic of jazz, right? It's like you got to transcribe and transcribe. I think from my personal experiences, I used to transcribe, but not that much. I did transcribe by ear though. Right? Like playing along with music is transcription. What we just did was transcription. Right? So you're playing along, and you're just sort of like your ear going, oh, playing along. You're trying to grab it. That's just sort of random. It's not really defined in any way. But sometimes it is. Like sometimes you could pick a tune and say, okay, I like this tune. I'm going to work on this amount of the tune and play it exactly like you're hearing. Like either just the melody. People forget that the melody. You have to really play melodies and be able to embellish the melodies, change the melodies, right? So there's always another way to do something, and that's really the essence of actually the language, right? Because all the notes we want to get to are around the melodies, right? So if you're playing, you'd be surprised. I go to do a clinic and say, okay, everybody knows Happy Birthday. Right? Okay, whatever, and they'll figure it out because they know the tune. But just getting the tune. So by playing the melody in a key, you're going to figure out what the chords are, right, underneath the melody. How are you going to play that melody? Right, so I'm still hearing the melody, but I'm using the form and the basic sound of the chords. It's a tune, right? It's a blues, kind of a blues, right? Don't be afraid to play tune. You got to play whatever's in your head. Play it. I don't care if they're nursery rhymes or they're church hymns, whatever. There's 100 tunes in there to get it from your ear into your instrument pretty, with beauty, with time. Do that. Do that. Every time you pick up your horn, and I guarantee it, you're practicing jazz. Right? Jazz is everything, right? It's not just, Ben Wendell's bebop, right? It's like, whatever you're playing is jazz. I don't care if it's a rockin', one chord thing. It's jazz. It's all jazz. It's all using your ear to try to figure out the right notes to play in the right